Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the UES Defiance. His hands gripped the metal rail as he stared at the screens in front of him. What he saw made his stomach turn cold. Thousands of enemy ships were moving toward Earth like a dark cloud of death. The Kaleri had come to finish what they started 3 years ago. These alien creatures looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs. They had sharp teeth, yellow eyes, and no mercy in their hearts. They saw humans as weak animals that needed to be wiped out or turned into slaves. "Captain, the numbers are bad," said Lieutenant Amy Carter from her station. Her voice shook a little as she read the reports. 3,000 enemy ships are coming. Our way, we count at least 50 of their biggest warships. Our entire defense fleet only has 800 ships. Morrison closed his eyes for a moment. 800 ships against 3,000. The math was simple and terrible. Even if every human ship destroyed 4 enemy vessels before being destroyed, they would still lose. And the Kaleri ships were stronger and faster than most human vessels. "Sir, what are your orders?" asked Commander Lucas Hayes. He was Morrison's second in command and had been his friend for 10 years. Lucas tried to sound calm, but Morrison could hear the worry in his voice. Morrison looked around the bridge at his crew. These were good people. Amy Carter was only 24 years old and had joined the fleet to see the stars. Now she might die defending her homeworld. Sergeant Pete Johnson sat at the weapons station. He had a wife and 2 kids on Earth. Lieutenant Carol White ran the communications. She always had a smile and a joke for everyone. Now her face was pale with fear. "Send a message to all ships," Morrison said. "Tell them to prepare for battle. We fight here, and we fight now. If we fail, Earth falls." The bridge was quiet except for the hum of machines and the soft beeping of computers. Everyone knew what this meant. Most of them would not live to see tomorrow. But they would die fighting to protect the billions of people on Earth. "Captain," Lucas said quietly, "what about the 7th Fleet? Any word from Admiral Stone?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Everyone on the bridge knew the story. The 7th Fleet had been the pride of humanity's space forces. 47 of the best ships with the finest crews. Admiral Victoria Stone had led them into battle at a place called Kepler 442 18 months ago. None of them had come back. The official report said they were all destroyed. The enemy had trapped them and blown up every ship. But some people whispered different stories. They said the 7th Fleet had escaped to unknown parts of space. Others claimed that Admiral Stone had found something out there, something that could help humanity win the war. Morrison had served under Admiral Stone 5 years ago. She was the smartest officer he had ever met. She never gave up, even when things looked impossible. Stone would study a problem from every angle until she found a way to win. If anyone could survive against impossible odds, it was her, but Morrison also knew that wishes and hopes did not win battles. Ships and weapons and brave people did that. And right now, the Kaleri had more of everything. "The 7th Fleet is gone, Lucas," Morrison said. He tried to keep his voice steady. "We fight with what we have. We are the shield that stands between Earth and those monsters." Lucas nodded, but Morrison saw the doubt in his eyes. They all wanted to believe that somehow, somewhere, Admiral Stone and her fleet were still alive. It was a nice story to tell children. But stories did not stop enemy weapons or save planets. The main screen showed the Kaleri fleet getting closer. Their ships were black and sharp like flying knives. They moved in perfect formation, showing the discipline that had helped them conquer 17 human colonies. Each colony had been home to millions of people. Now those worlds were empty or filled with Kaleri settlers. "Captain, incoming message from Fleet Command," Amy reported. "Admiral Clark wants to speak with all ship commanders." Morrison pressed a button and Admiral Clark's face appeared on the screen. The old man looked tired. His gray hair was messy and his eyes were red from lack of sleep. He had been planning this defense for weeks, trying to find a way to make 800 ships defeat 3,000. "Captains," Admiral Clark said, "I will not lie to you. We are outnumbered and outgunned. But we have something the Kaleri do. Not have, we are fighting for our home. Every man and woman in our fleet knows that behind us are the people we love. Our families, our friends, our children. We will not let them down." Clark paused and looked directly at the camera. "The enemy thinks we are weak because we are mammals instead of reptiles. They think we will run when things get hard. Today we show them how wrong they are. Today we show them what humans do when someone threatens our home." The transmission ended. Morrison looked at his crew. They sat up straighter now. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with something else. Determination, anger, the will to fight. "All stations, report readiness," Morrison ordered. "Weapons ready," said Pete. "Engines at full power," reported the engineering officer. "Communications clear," said Carroll. "Sensors tracking enemy fleet," Amy added. Morrison nodded. His ship was ready. Around him, 800 other captains were making the same preparations. They would do their duty. They would fight until their ships were destroyed and their crews were dead. It was not enough to win, but it was all they had. The Kaleri fleet moved closer like a storm made of metal and death. Soon the battle would begin, and the fate of humanity would be decided among the stars. 18 months earlier, Admiral Victoria Stone watched her fleet die. The battle at Kepler 442 was supposed to be a simple patrol mission. Instead, it had become a trap that would destroy everything she had worked to build. The Kaleri had been waiting for them. As soon as the 7th Fleet dropped out of hyperspace, enemy ships appeared from behind asteroids and moons. Hundreds of black vessels surrounded Stone's 47 ships like wolves around a campfire. "Admiral, we have lost the courage and the steadfast," reported Captain Ben Parker from his station. He was Stone's chief of staff and had been with her for 8 years. His voice stayed calm even as their world fell apart around them. The harmony is breaking up. Captain Rodriguez got most of his crew to the escape pods before the reactor went critical. Stone stood in the center of the bridge of her flagship, the UES Retribution. The ship shook as enemy weapons hit the hull. Red lights flashed and alarms rang throughout the vessel. She could smell smoke and hear the sound of damaged systems sparking. "How many ships do we have left?" Stone asked. 31 ships still fighting, Admiral? But most of them are badly damaged. The Thunder lost all power to weapons. The Swift can barely fly in a straight line." Stone looked at the main screen. It showed the battle around them in 3 dimensions. Red dots were Kaleri ships, blue dots were human vessels. There were 10 red dots for every blue one, and more enemy ships were arriving every minute. She had walked into this trap because she was trying to save people. The colony on Kepler 442b had sent a distress call. They said Kaleri raiders were attacking their cities and taking prisoners. Stone could not ignore people calling for help, so she brought her fleet to rescue them, but there was no colony anymore. The Kaleri had destroyed it weeks ago and used the distress beacon to lure human ships into their trap. Now Stone's fleet was paying the price for her kindness. "Admiral, the Kaleri commander is trying to talk to you," said Lieutenant Danny Brooks from the communications station. "Put him on screen." A large reptile face appeared on the main display. The creature had yellow eyes, sharp teeth, and scales that looked like black armor. This was High General Korth, one of the Kaleri Empire's best military leaders. "Admiral Stone," the alien said in perfect English, "your reputation is known to us. You have caused much trouble for our expansion plans. But now your fleet is trapped and dying. Surrender, and we will make your deaths quick." Stone stared at the enemy commander. She had fought the Kaleri for 3 years and learned to hate everything about them. They killed human families for sport. They turned children into slaves. They burned entire cities just to watch them burn. "General Korth," Stone replied, "I have a better idea. Why don't you go back to whatever swamp you crawled out of and leave human space forever?" The alien's eyes narrowed. "Your bravery is admirable but foolish. You cannot escape. Our ships surround you completely." Stone smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "We will see about that." She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. These people had followed her through a dozen battles. They trusted her to find a way out of impossible situations. But this time felt different. This time the trap was too perfect and the enemy too strong. "Captain Parker, I need you to check something for me," Stone said. 3 hours ago, our sensors picked up strange energy readings from the edge of the system. The readings did not match any known technology. Where exactly did they come from? Parker worked at his station for a few minutes. The readings came from coordinates 127 Mark 394. That area should be empty space, Admiral. No planets, no asteroids, nothing. Stone studied the star charts on her personal screen. The coordinates were far from the battle, in a region that most ships never visited. But something was out there, something that did not belong. "Admiral, we are losing more ships," reported the tactical officer. "The Brave just exploded. The Justice is falling toward the planet with no power." Stone made a decision that would change everything. It was crazy and dangerous, but staying here meant certain death for everyone. "All ships, emergency jump to coordinates I am sending now," she ordered. "Maximum speed, do not wait for formation." "Admiral, those coordinates lead to empty space," Parker said. "If we jump there, we will be stranded with no fuel to get home." "Sometimes." "Ben, empty space is exactly where you need to go to find something amazing." The surviving ships of the 7th Fleet charged their jump drives. Kaleri weapons hammered them as they prepared to escape. The Resolution exploded just as its drive activated. The Victor lost its engine room but managed to jump with emergency power. 31. Human ships disappeared from the Kepler 442 system, leaving behind only wreckage and confused enemies. General Korth screamed orders at his captains, but there was nothing they could do. The humans had vanished. When the 7th Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the coordinates Stone had chosen, they found something impossible. Hidden in the shadow of a dark planet was a structure the size of a small moon. It was clearly built by intelligent beings, but it did not look like anything in human or Kaleri databases. The structure was ancient beyond imagination. It had waited in the darkness for millions of years, holding secrets that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. And now Admiral Victoria Stone and her dying fleet had found it? Dr. Lisa Warren could not believe what she was seeing. The ancient structure floating in space was bigger than any space station humans had ever built. Its walls were made of metal that did not rust or break down even after millions of years. In the cold darkness between stars, "Admiral, you need to see this," Warren said into her communicator. She was leading the first exploration team inside the alien structure. Her hands shook as she held her scanner, reading energy levels that should have been impossible. Admiral Stone's voice came through the radio. "What did you find, Doctor?" "This place is still alive, Admiral. The power systems are running, the computers are working, and the artificial intelligence that controls everything wants to talk to us." Warren stood in a huge chamber filled with strange machines. Lights moved along the walls in patterns that looked almost like writing. The air was clean and breathable, as if the station had been waiting for visitors to arrive. Behind her, Sergeant Mike Collins kept his rifle ready. He did not trust alien technology, especially when it seemed too good to be true. "Doctor, are you sure this place is safe? What if it's another trap?" "I don't think so, Sergeant. This technology is older than human civilization. Whoever built this place disappeared long before Earth had intelligent life." A soft voice suddenly filled the chamber. It spoke in perfect English, as if it had been listening to human radio signals for years. "Welcome, children of the 3rd planet. I have been waiting for someone to find me." Collins raised his rifle, but Warren held up her hand to stop him. "Who are you?" she asked the voice. "I am the keeper of this facility. My creators called themselves the predecessors. They built me to preserve their greatest weapons for a time when the galaxy would need them again." "Weapons?" Warren asked. "What kind of weapons?" The chamber around them changed. The walls became transparent, showing them images of space battles from long ago. They saw ships the size of cities fighting against dark creatures that seemed to eat light itself. My creators fought an enemy they called the Devourers. These beings consumed entire star systems, turning planets into empty rocks and stars into cold dust. The predecessors created weapons powerful enough to stop them, but the cost was terrible. Warren watched the ancient battles with growing amazement. The weapons the predecessors used could destroy dozens of enemy ships with a single shot. They could tear holes in space itself and make stars explode. What happened to your creators? She asked. They won the war, but they paid with their lives. The weapons they created were too powerful for any one species to control safely. So they built stations like this one to hide their weapons until worthy beings could be found to use them. Back on the Retribution, Admiral Stone listened to Warren's report with growing excitement. The doctor had been inside the alien station for 6 hours, learning about technology that could change everything. The station has weapons that can destroy entire fleets, Warren explained over the radio. But there's a catch, Admiral. The weapons require a human mind to control them. Someone has to link directly with the station's computer system. What does that mean exactly? Stone asked. It means whoever volunteers will become part of the station forever. Their mind will merge with the artificial intelligence. They will control incredible power, but they will never be fully human again. Stone closed her eyes and thought about what this meant. The Kalari Empire had thousands of ships and billions of soldiers. They were winning the war against humanity because they were stronger and had better technology. But now the Seventh Fleet had found weapons that could balance the fight. The price was that someone would have to give up their humanity to use those weapons. Doctor, how long do we have to make this decision? Stone asked. The station can wait forever, Admiral. But our ships are badly damaged from the battle at Kepler 442. We need months to repair them, even with the advanced technology here. The station is willing to help us fix our vessels and upgrade them with predecessor systems. Over the following weeks, the Seventh Fleet became something new. The alien station shared its technology freely, helping human engineers repair their ships and make them stronger. The vessels that had barely escaped from Kepler 442 were transformed into something between human and alien technology. Commander Ryan Davis volunteered to merge with the station's intelligence. He had been a fighter pilot before losing both legs. In a battle with Kalari raiders, the doctors had saved his life, but he could never fly again. The neural interface offered him a chance to fight back against the enemies who had crippled him. Are you sure about this, Ryan? Admiral Stone asked him. They stood together in the chamber where the merger would take place. Cables and wires hung from the ceiling like metal vines. I'm sure, Admiral. I've been half dead since I lost my legs. This gives me a chance to be useful again, to help humanity win this war. The process took 3 weeks. Davis lay connected to machines that slowly linked his brain with the station's vast computer network. Stone visited him every day, watching as he changed from a man into something more than human. When it was finished, Davis existed as both human consciousness and alien machine. Through him, the Seventh Fleet gained access to weapons that could reshape space and time. They spent months learning to use their new abilities, preparing for the day when they would reveal themselves to the galaxy. Admiral Stone knew they would get only one chance to use their advantage. When that day came, they would need to be ready to change the course of the war forever. Admiral Victoria Stone stood on the bridge of the transformed Retribution. The ship looked nothing like it had 8 months ago. Predecessor technology covered the walls like living metal. Strange lights pulsed through cables that seemed to breathe. The air hummed with power that could tear apart reality itself. Admiral, we are receiving the emergency signal from Earth, reported Captain Helen Brooks. She had replaced Ben Parker after he died during the ship modifications. The predecessor technology was amazing, but it was also dangerous. 3 crew members had been lost when a power conduit exploded during installation. Stone nodded. She had been waiting for this moment. The plan was simple but terrible. The Seventh Fleet would stay hidden until Earth itself was threatened. Only then would they reveal what they had become. Only then would the galaxy see what humans could do when pushed too far. Through the ship's neural network, Commander Ryan. Davis spoke to her. His voice came from everywhere and nowhere like the whisper of a ghost. Admiral, I can see the Calari fleet. 3,000 ships, just as our spies reported. High Admiral Vexstar is leading them personally. Davis no longer had a physical body. He existed as pure thought spread across the ship's computer systems. Through the predecessor technology, he could see across vast distances and control weapons that bent the laws of physics. Tell me about Vexstar, Stone said. He is their greatest military commander. The Calari sent him to destroy Earth because they want their best leader to witness humanity's final defeat. His flagship is the Devourer of Worlds, a ship the size of a small city. He has never lost a battle. Stone smiled grimly. Then it's time to give him his first loss. The 31 ships of the 7th Fleet move through space like ghosts. Predecessor cloaking technology made them invisible to all known sensors. They could pass within a few kilometers of enemy vessels and never be detected. They had become hunters in the darkness, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As they approached the solar system, Stone watched the battle unfold on her screens. The Earth Defense Fleet was fighting bravely, but they were being destroyed. Ship by ship. Captain Morrison's vessel, the Defiance, was taking heavy damage. The Calari were pushing toward Earth like a black tide of death. Admiral, the human fleet has lost half their ships, Brooks reported. The Calari are preparing for their final attack on Earth itself. Stone felt anger burn in her chest. These alien monsters wanted to wipe out her species. They saw humans as weak animals that deserved only death or slavery. They had destroyed 17 colonies and killed millions of innocent people, but they had made one mistake. They had pushed humanity too far. All ships, take positions around Saturn, Stone ordered. Use the planet's rings for cover. Wait for my signal. The 7th Fleet spread out in the shadow of the giant planet. Their ships hung motionless in space, hidden among chunks of ice and rock. They had weapons that could destroy stars, but they would get only one chance to use them. If they failed, both Earth and the 7th Fleet would be destroyed. Stone watched as High Admiral Vexstar brought his massive flagship into the battle. The Devourer of Worlds was a monster of black metal and deadly weapons. It destroyed 3 human ships with a single salvo, their hulls cracking like eggshells. Davis, can you target Vexstar's ship? Stone asked. Yes, Admiral. But if I fire the Void Render at his flagship, the weapon will destroy everything within 1,000 kilometers. That includes several human ships? Stone felt the weight of command on her shoulders. To save Earth, she might have to sacrifice some of the very people she was trying to protect. It was the kind of decision that would haunt her forever. Wait for the human ships to pull back, she decided. We time this perfectly or we don't do it at all. Minutes passed like hours. Stone watched Captain Morrison's ship limp away from the main battle, its hull glowing with heat from enemy weapons. Other human vessels followed. Their crews not knowing that salvation was hiding in the darkness nearby, the Calari fleet moved into final attack formation. Vexstar's flagship took position at the center, surrounded by his strongest ships. He wanted to personally fire the shots that would destroy Earth's last defenses. Admiral, all human ships have cleared the target zone, Davis reported. The Calari fleet is in perfect position. I can destroy their entire center formation with one shot. Stone took a deep breath. For 18 months, she had planned for this moment. Her fleet had died and been reborn as something between human and alien. They had trained with weapons older than civilization itself. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humans could become when fighting for their survival. All ships, drop. Cloak, Stone ordered. Let them see us. 31 ships suddenly appeared around the Calari fleet like vengeful spirits. Their hulls glowed with predecessor energy, and space itself seemed to bend around them. They had returned from the dead. To protect their homeworld, Stone opened a communication channel that every ship in the solar system could hear. This is Admiral Victoria Stone of the 7th Fleet. Earth Defense Command, stand clear. We have this. High Admiral Vexstar's shocked face appeared on her screen. The reptilian commander's yellow eyes were wide with disbelief. "Impossible," he hissed. "Your fleet was destroyed at Kepler 442. You cannot exist." Stone's smile was cold as space itself. "We died at Kepler 442, Vextar. What came back is something much worse for you." Captain Jake Morrison stared at his main screen in complete amazement. 31 ships had appeared from nowhere, their hulls glowing with energy he had never seen before. At the front of the formation was a vessel he recognized but could barely believe was real. "Sir, that's the Retribution," said Lieutenant Amy Carter, her voice filled with wonder. "Admiral Stone's flagship, but it looks completely different." Morrison nodded slowly. The ship that had once been purely human technology was now something else entirely. Strange metal covered its hull like living armor. Lights pulsed through its structure in patterns that hurt to look at directly. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "This is Admiral Victoria Stone of the 7th Fleet," came the transmission that every human ship received. "Earth Defense Command, stand clear. We have this." Morrison felt tears in his eyes. He had served under Stone years ago and knew her voice better than his own mother's. She was alive. The 7th Fleet was alive. Somehow they had returned from the dead to save Earth. "All ships, pull back to safe distance," Morrison ordered his fleet. "Give the 7th Fleet room to work." High Admiral Vextar S. massive flagship, the Devourer of Worlds, turned to face this new threat. The reptilian commander's voice echoed across space, filled with rage and disbelief. "You are ghosts," Vextar snarled. "Your fleet died at Kepler 442. I have seen the battle reports. This is some human trick." Admiral Stone's reply was calm and cold. "We did die at Kepler 442, Vextar. But death taught us things your empire could never understand. Today you learn what happens when you push humanity too far." The Kaleri fleet turned to face the 7th Fleet. 3,000 alien ships moved like a dark storm, their weapons charging for battle. Vextar commanded his forces with the skill that had made him famous across the galaxy. He had destroyed human fleets before. He believed he could do it again, but he had never faced anything like what the 7th Fleet had become on the bridge of the Retribution. Admiral Stone felt the ship's systems respond to her thoughts. The predecessor technology had changed her crew in ways they were still discovering. They could control their weapons with their minds and see across vast distances through space itself. "Davis, are you ready?" Stone asked. Commander Ryan Davis existed everywhere and nowhere on the ship. His consciousness flowed through the neural networks like electricity through wire. "Target locked, Admiral. The Void Render is charged and ready. One shot will destroy their entire center formation." Stone looked at her tactical display one last time. The Kaleri fleet was perfectly positioned. Vextar had placed his strongest ships around his flagship, creating a formation that should have been unbreakable. Instead, he had gathered his best vessels into a perfect target. "Fire," Stone ordered. The Retribution did not shoot normal weapons. Instead, it fired a beam of pure nothingness at the space between the enemy ships. Reality twisted and bent as the Void Render activated. The weapon did not destroy matter by burning it or exploding it. Instead, it simply removed the enemy from existence itself. Space tore open like fabric being ripped apart. The tear spread through the Kaleri formation like a disease, consuming everything it touched. Ships did not explode or burn. They simply stopped being real and faded from the universe. As if they had never existed at all, Vextar had time for one final transmission before his flagship was swallowed by the expanding void. "This cannot be happening. Mammals cannot possess such power." His voice cut off as the Devourer of Worlds was erased from reality. The massive ship that had terrorized dozens of worlds simply vanished, leaving nothing behind but empty space. The void continued to spread, consuming hundreds of Kaleri vessels. Entire squadrons disappeared in seconds. Ships that had taken years to build and centuries to perfect were gone in the blink of an eye. The Kaleri Empire's greatest fleet was being devoured by nothingness itself. Morrison watched in stunned silence. as 3,000 enemy ships became debris and memory in less than 20 minutes. The few Kalari vessels that survived the impossible weapon fled into hyperspace, carrying word of humanity's victory back to their empire. When the battle was over, only empty space remained where the alien armada had been. The Seventh Fleet hung, motionless among the stars like angels of death, their hulls still glowing with ancient power. "Admiral Stone," Morrison transmitted, "it's good to have you back." Stone's voice carried a sadness that had not been there before. "Thank you, Jake, but we're not back. Not really. We're something else now, something between human and machine. The people we used to be died at Kepler 442, what returned to something new." Morrison understood. The Seventh Fleet had paid a terrible price for their power. They had sacrificed their humanity to save their species. They were heroes, but they could never come home. "What will you do now?" Morrison asked. "We'll patrol the dark spaces between the stars," Stone replied. "We'll hunt down the enemies that threaten human worlds. The Kalari Empire will send more fleets, and we'll be waiting for them. Earth is safe, but the war is far from over." As Morrison watched, the 31 ships began to fade from his sensors. The predecessor cloaking technology made them invisible. Once again, they were becoming ghosts, guardians who would watch over humanity from the shadows. The legend of the Seventh Fleet would spread across the galaxy. Every species would hear the story of how humanity found ancient weapons and used them to destroy an entire armada. Some would fear humans more because of this victory. Others would respect them, but in the dark spaces between stars, Admiral Victoria Stone and her transformed fleet would continue their eternal watch. They had become something more than human to protect the species they loved. The galaxy would never be the same, and Earth would never stand alone again.